Welcome to episode 599 of Salsidoparanormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I'm sharing true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find all episodes of the show along with links to social media and other ways to contact me at the podcast page, and that is salsidoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. Always happy to hear from you all, whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions or accounts of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own or from others that you trust. Happy to either read those or have you join me on the show to talk about them. Thank you all for listening, whether you are here for the live streams on Discord, or if you listen to the podcast or YouTube feeds, or on the Trouble Minds radio network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting. There you can hear replays of 2 episodes of the show every night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right before Michael Strange and Trouble Minds Radio comes on. And as always, I want to thank Michael Strange for having me on the network as well and putting all my shows up there. Excuse me. So, takes care of that. Of course, if you want to support the show, there are some different ways to do that. You can always share the show with others and rate and review it on your favorite podcast platform. You can find books I've written over on Amazon, paranormal fiction and nonfiction, with a new one coming out hopefully within the next month or so. I got an update. I don't want to rush my friend that is doing it, so I'm not going to say exactly when because I don't know exactly when, but hopefully, like I said, hopefully within July at some point. Looking forward to having that out, and it's going to be all about my experiences with some things I've shared in the show as well. So you can also sign up for the Patreon page to get one extra True Paranormal Stories from the Web episode every week, or you can just make one-time donations through PayPal. Support is never expected, but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows and related projects such as the book series that I hope to make to go with the shows. And from equipment to research materials to travel expenses in some cases. So just to bring it up here real quick is books usually are not free to make. You have to, unless you're going to do everything yourself, you're usually going to pay some money to put out a book. Unless you manage to get in with a traditional publisher, which is, you're probably still going to spend some money in one way or another. So anyway, just wanted to mention that because it is part of the process. Anyway, so yeah, tonight is mostly, as I record here anyway, it's mostly true paranormal stories on the web. So looking forward to that. Thank you all again for being here. And let's get to the first one here. This one says, I was entering my bedroom a few weeks ago when I saw a brief flash of light a few inches above my bed. The flash made a low electric sounding buzz and crackle type of noise. There was nothing electrical on the bed at the time. The flash was bright yellow/white in color. The core of the flash looked to be about the size of a golf ball. It had a thinner halo around it, maybe the size of a tennis ball. The core looked very solid, almost like a piece of highly reflective suspended metal. It looked like the light from a welder's torch, but without being dangerously bright. The flash was only there for a second and then gone, with no after image left behind. Has anyone had similar experiences? Can anyone explain what this strange flash could have been? And that's where that one ends. It sounds like some kind of a Light anomaly doesn't sound like the usual description of an orb. Sounds like something maybe different, but then again, I think it's hard to tell when it comes to lights and sort of describing them in words in that brief of a frame. Maybe it did look like an orb. I've heard of orbs having images of, or other things in them in some cases. I think that's more rare, but not totally uncommon either. So yeah, I don't know what they saw or why it was there, or how it got there and how it disappeared. So I wonder. Doesn't sound like a lot of times people when they post these things online, because that's where I find all the material for these shows. That's kind of the point, is finding accounts of experiences people have had online that will get posted, but then there's very little interaction other than just on the website itself with that person talking about experiences like that. So that's sort of what I like to do. It's sort of, I think it's probably the easiest way for me to do this without going out and interviewing all kinds of people, which I can't easily do. Um, so yeah, neat one there. I don't know what that was, but lights are extremely common. That's really the phenomenon of lights, anomalous lights themselves, is just really common everywhere. All kinds of settings, outside, inside, doesn't matter really. They're seen everywhere at different times. And so yeah, I don't know what that was, but I'm glad that the person there took the time to make a post about it online. Moving on to the next one here. This one says, "This is real." Let me see. Oh yeah, I remember the right one. Okay. It says, "This is real. It happened in 2017. I stayed for a while in an old, large house, at least 100 years old, in a small village in the Alps in Austria. The house had 2 stories, a large basement and an attic at the top of the stairs. I slept on the second floor with my ex-partner." I'm guessing they mean now ex-partner, I'm not sure. "Strange occurrences started happening throughout the week. Small things like cups and shoes appeared out of place. We heard weird noises during the night. The noises got louder, and larger things like drawers or wardrobes were shifted out of place. On the 6th night, while we were talking in bed, we heard a scratching noise like a chair being dragged across the attic floor. After we commented on the noise, the window shutter slammed closed, scaring us. The next day, I investigated the attic. Junk was piled in front of the attic door, with a wooden crucifix hanging on it. The attic door was locked, but I found a vintage key to open it. Upon opening the attic door, the only thing visible inside was a chair. And that's where that one ends. That's a lot of activity. And it sounds like it increased in magnitude or levels of activity going on there. The I wonder how often people hear scratching in their home in buildings that they're in, and they think it's one thing. They think of sort of Hollywood definitions of what ghosts are. Of course, the ever present theme in movies and TV shows and all that is demons. It's supposedly something evil that is trying to make contact or get people frightened. Any number of things, start communication, whatever. But I wonder how often it's just some entity it may still be trying to get attention, but it's doing it by moving an object across the floor. Or even could be it's just trying to see what it can do with the object, and it's making noise, and it doesn't even realize that the people that are there are hearing it. So now that house, that does sound like there's a lot going on. I don't know about that example can really be applied to that situation there, but either way, sounds like it was an active house. I just wonder, was that, I don't know. I could see the people thinking that it was sort of all these things that were happening were meant to get their attention, but I wonder about that sometimes too. When it's just objects moving, is that really always an attempt to get attention or to communicate? Or is it our entities there, whether they're human or not, or especially if they're human, thinking, I want this object here. I remember it here. Why is it over there? I'm going to put it back here. Especially for things like wardrobes or dressers or whatever. And then finding objects in their place that maybe are not theirs, but they belong to the people that are there, they're currently thinking, what is this object? That's not mine. So it ends up getting moved. I just wonder about the whole, so often we hear about the, again, like I said, through Hollywood and all that, the assumption is it's always out to get the people that are in the location. And I wonder, how often is it just the opposite? How often is stuff happening and it really has next to nothing to do with the people that are there experiencing all these things? So, yeah, that's, I don't know. I'd be curious to know the history of the house, as I always say. The crucifix on the attic door, it makes me think that maybe, whether it was anything bad or not, some people there before the person that made that post thought it was bad and put that crucifix there for a reason. But again, it's hard to know for sure if that was what was going on or not. But also, you don't want to dismiss it if they had that feeling. Maybe it was. It's really hard to know, just based on these brief descriptions here. So, moving on to the next one. Let's see here. Okay, this one says, let me scroll down a little bit so I have it all in one frame. There we go. It says, when I was 5 years old, I had a strange experience one morning. I was walking down the hallway of my house. Suddenly, I saw a girl around the same age, 5 years old, peeking her head around from behind the wall. I guess around the corner, they mean. The girl was wearing white clothing. When I approached her, she hid back behind the wall and vanished. Strangely, a second time after that, instead of seeing the girl, I saw some kind of green creature with a large, bulbous head, like those depictions of aliens on TV shows. The green creature did the same thing as the girl. It peeked out, and when I approached, it hid back around the corner and vanished. These two bizarre occurrences of seeing the girl and the creature have stayed in my mind for years since childhood. And that's where that one ends. I really wonder about that. It's amazing if you just take it sort of at face value. Was the writer there, that the person see two separate things? But then if they're wearing similar clothes, that almost hints at, was there some entity there that was disguising itself as the little girl, but it was really this creature in the same white clothing? And again, sort of like an alien, like a stereotypical alien. Was it something else entirely? Just using images to interact with this this child when they were young, um, and sort of following the same pattern. That's what almost makes me wonder because of the way it had the same action both times, but looked different both times. The first time you could almost suggest like a horror movie, like a little girl from a horror movie, even though the writer didn't describe it that way exactly. But then the second time, it's an alien. I mean, the writer doesn't say it that way exactly, but they say it was almost like an alien. So that is really an odd one. Yeah, you hear that with Ricky says in the chat there. You hear that a lot of stories. Demons allegedly, or sorry, disguising. I saw the G there. That's off as children. So then, were they also? And again, I've heard this recently on a couple of shows. The idea of the word demon comes from daemon and other things. There's different versions of that word, and they don't all mean the same thing. So again, we're talking about other entities here, whatever, whoever they are, that are possibly disguising themselves in different ways. The question is, what is the point of the interaction? Doesn't seem like it really frightened the child that had the experience. It stuck with them though. So I would be curious to know if they had other experiences throughout the rest of their life, or if that was just a couple of times. If it was someone attached to that house or that area trying to make contact, and then if they had no other experiences, then maybe it was tied to that area. It's hard to know, especially when you're a child. There's that whole idea of how when you're a child you are more sensitive. You're not taught that the paranormal, or you're not taught that these things can exist. So you're more open to having experiences with them. Also, the idea that when you're closer to whatever end you're at, or whatever side of the spirit world you're on, whether it's have just been relatively recently born, or you are heading back toward that spirit world, you are nearing your end of your physical existence again. People in those positions are more sensitive anyway. So a lot of things to consider there. I don't know, but it seems like there was some kind of reason for that happening twice like that, but with different imagery. And but that's all I can say, and even that isn't really for sure. So as usual, moving on to, I think we have time for one more here for this episode. Let me see here. Okay. This one says, this happened a few years back when I was new in an educational institution. So some kind of school, or I don't know they don't really say what kind. I'm wondering if it was some kind of correctional. I don't know for sure. And of course you want to be respectful of whoever this is from and respect their privacy. So I'm not going to really pry into that. I was trying to find my way around. A blonde-haired girl helped give me directions. She had a mature face compared to my age group. She had an interesting voice and was dressed in a slightly 90s style. So basically in the style of clothes from the 90s, kind of. She was the only girl there who was nice to me that year. She seemed oddly similar to me as well. In just that one meeting, she came across as kind and a potentially good friend. But after helping me, she turned and literally disappeared down the hallway. I never managed to find anyone resembling her again. I have no history of mental issues or hallucinations. Oddly, I saw this person from behind, leaving somewhere else. I later had a dream of her, but as a much older woman, in her 60s or 70s. She seemed to have an aura that was not regular, as if she knew more than she should for her age. And that's where that one ends. So I don't know, some kind of protective entity there. The age difference, there's all kinds of levels to that one there. You have the dream, you have the almost like an apparition-like aspect to the whole thing. You have the similarity to the writer themselves, the way they acted. I wonder, of course, this is something that always comes up in these kinds of accounts, if anyone else that was around the person, and then whoever this was, did they see this other figure with them or not? All kinds of questions come up there. And then how did they know in the dream that it was the same figure? That's my main questions there. And so I don't know. That seems like maybe some kind of protective, or at least some entity that was interested in the experiencer there and wanted to help them out for whatever reasons, and then wanted to make contact with them and keep, I guess, check on them even over the years. But I wondered now in the dream, it was the way they appeared in the dream, their natural, their regular form. Was it an entity that could take on whatever form it wanted to? Just nothing but questions there, but it really is amazing that this whole experience has, like I said, a lot of levels to it. Sort of like an apparition, sort of ghost-like, but not quite. You don't usually hear too often about ghosts changing their age that way. You sometimes hear about ghosts appearing as younger, more healthy versions of themselves from before they had passed. So I guess maybe that could technically count as that. But I don't know either. So, and again, this isn't someone that the writer there knew beforehand, as far as they know. So there's no other connection that way. They have no idea who this person was to know when they passed or didn't pass. So that one, to me, that really stood out as being something unique, just because of all the different parts of that one there. So the dream aspect, dreams seem to be just a nexus for everything, almost everything, from visitations from spirits or other entities to, again, astral travel, out-of-body experiences to, I'm coming to wonder now these days if they're also gateways to parallel or alternate universes. And do we travel to those places, again, through the out-of-body experience? I don't know, because sometimes those experiences feel so real that it's almost like I'm really there, and then I'm not. I'm back here. So I don't know what to make of any of that. But that's okay, because we're out of time for this episode. Thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all on the next episode of Salsidoparanormal. Take care.